Joy, and today's video is a continuation. I feel like I'm gonna have a few different series on this channel, and this is a series that I would like to do. In fact, when I restarted this channel, this was the point of it, was watching the Free Britney movement and what's going on there, because I feel like I might have some interesting takes from somebody who has, could have easily in a certain way been in Britney Spears' situation with my family. If you guys know my history and what I've talked about, I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't really want to give a lot of negative people from my past too much attention. But I had major chronic health issues and I had no support. Nobody would believe me. And instead of trying to help me, I had a parent that decided that they were going to start a campaign and try to put me in a mental hospital. And there's nothing wrong with me except my body wasn't working. There's a lot to unpack there. Maybe one day I will do an update video on kind of what that is and my understanding of it. But again, I don't want to give those people too much attention at all. But I can really relate to Britney's struggle, and it's really broken my heart, and I really want to break some of this down for you guys because I feel like we have a lot of misunderstanding in society when it comes to mental illness. And I feel like we have been, in many ways, brainwashed in society to think mental illness is just where the chemicals in your brain aren't flowing, aren't functioning correctly. Now, that can happen when it comes to things like depression, anxiety. That can happen. However, there's also situational. And that's not something that we really hear about and is really talked about. And I think, this is my opinion, I feel like we live in a world where the medical system isn't really trained to get us better. They're trained to medicate us because that's what keeps rolling in the profits and throwing pills at us. Guys, I also wanted to point out, if you like content like this, make sure and subscribe, hit notifications, and check out some of the other stuff I'm doing. I've just been doing a series on Eugenia Cooney, so make sure and go check out those videos. Stuff you're not going to hear anywhere else about her health, about eating issues, and things that just different takes you might not hear other places. Also, I did some videos recently on Shane Dawson, on Trisha Paytas, and everybody's favorite Onision. I have links in the description and I have links in the cards, so make sure and go check those out. And I also want to say, to start this video out, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am not here to diagnose anybody. I cannot tell anybody what to do with their health. It is not my place. But what I do want to do is bring different health information to people that might be able to be helpful to you, your situation, or could just be good information to have. And what I want to focus on today is Britney Spears' mental health. Now, I've also there's a part 1 to this where I talk about Britney Spears and her breakdown she had back in, I think it was 2008, 2007 or 2008. It was back in the 2000s. She had a big mental breakdown, shaved her head, and she was hospitalized twice. A lot of weird stuff surrounding that. And I was alive at that time and I watched it all happen. I'm not saying y'all weren't alive. I'm just saying, like, I was in my 20s watching this going, wow, what is going on here? Very different culture, guys. This was when social media was just barely starting to bloom. It was just barely there. Celebrities weren't really using it, and we still had a really big emphasis on, celebrities and tabloid culture. I feel like now that we have social media, it's calmed down to an extent. It's still there, but it's not like it used to be. And I feel like I have some interesting takes from somebody from a dysfunctional family about what could be going on with her mental illness issues. Again, I'm not her doctor. I don't know. I can't sit here and say, but I can bring up some interesting points. Now, before we begin, first of all, I don't want to sit here and say again what Britney Spears' mental health is. But I do have some notes and I do have some information on this that I want to go into. It's stuff that I feel like in most popular culture, you're not going to hear a lot of other places. And maybe there are other YouTubers that talk about it. More power to them. Sound off in the comments. So, the more we share and help one another, the better, in my opinion. Let's all help good information get out there. But I want to give you guys alternative perspectives you might not hear. So Britney Spears has been in a conservatorship with her father for several years since she had that breakdown and was hospitalized. There's a lot of weirdness. There is a lot of shadiness surrounding this situation with Britney Spears and the conservatorship, because what we've been finding, why the Free Britney movement has happened, is over the last several years, Britney has been saying, really the last year or two, she was in it, like in terms of like when she first got in it, she was saying she wanted out. And so people are feeling like she's being held against her will, and there's a lot of weird evidence for that. And the person who has been in control and the head of this conservatorship and championing for it, and the one who put it in place, is her father. And her father is the one saying she is mentally ill. They literally say, which we'll have another video about this, she's not capable of making decisions, taking care of herself, getting dressed. Yet they have her performing world tours in 18-hour days of intense, dancing and media and all of these things that if she was really incapacitated, how could she do? That's a whole nother video, by the way. But today I want to focus on some of her mental health issues because there were reports that over the last year or so, Britney was forced to be hospitalized in a mental institution against her will because she wanted to stop taking her medication. And as a result of that, they kept her there and they were trying to get the dosage right and said that Britney was not cooperating and having issues from the medicine being off. Well, anybody who's been on those types of meds or even had any type of reaction to meds, my nervous system is sick, so I react very sensitively to the smallest of milligrams. Like I get these stomach spasms, gastroparesis, and the medicine I'm supposed to take for it to help calm down the spasms, I'm supposed to take 20 to 40 milligrams. I take it in 2.5 doses of milligrams because my body will react in really crazy ways. And especially mental illness medication can do all kinds of things to you. And we were hearing that she's being held against her will. Now, here's something that I want to bring up. Is Britney Spears really mentally ill? Or is she caught being a slave to a broken system that labels people as different things, not really knowing what's going on, and then hands the control over the people hurting her? And what do I mean by that? So Britney Spears' father is a known alcoholic. On top of that, apparently he had a rage fit and this is a separate video, Kevin Federline, that's her ex-husband, she's got 2 children with him. She shares custody. And her father, so the children's grandfather, had a rage fit and violently shook one of the kids to where it was a mess. CPS was called. Now, no charges were necessarily pressed, but they all came out there, and Kevin successfully got a restraining order against him. During this time, Kevin was petitioning to get more child support money, and Jamie was trying to fight it. And then right around that time, Britney Spears, I think Kevin got full custody, and she lost a lot of that. And so is Britney just incapable or crazy? Or is it that she has somebody who is physically, mentally, emotionally hurting and damaging her, maybe the A word, please infer, that is now in control of everything in her life? And if she came from a father that was an alcoholic who put their family through physical, mental, and emotional issues as a result, how do we blame her for maybe having some issues? How do we blame her for having judgment issues in the men that she picks? How do we blame her for certain things? Is she really mentally ill, or is she just stuck in situations that for any person are impossible? This is what I want to go over. And the first thing that I want to go over has to do with different types of depression and what they look like. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is an article from Medical News Today. It says situational depression or clinical depression. Everyone feels sadness. It's a natural human emotion. However, clinical depression is a serious condition that can have profound impact on everyday life. Situational and clinical depression are similar, but not the same. Recognizing the differences between these types of depression is the first step towards getting help. Situational depression is known medically as adjustment disorder with depressed mood. It often resolves in time, and talking about the problem can ease the recovery process. Clinical depression, known medically as major depressive disorder, can develop if the individual does not recover. There is more severe mental health condition. What are the differences? Some key differences between situational and clinical depression will determine the type of treatment the person needs and the severity of the condition. No type of depression is more real than the other. Both can present significant challenges and it could harm well-being. However, knowing which type of depression is at the root of a persistent negative mood can support recovery. Situational depression. This is a short-term form of depression that occurs as a result of a traumatic event or change in a person's life. Adjustment disorder with depressed mood is another name for this emotional state. Triggers can include divorce, loss of a job, the death of a close friend, a serious accident, other major life changes, such as retirement. Situational depression stems from a struggle to come to terms with dramatic life changes. Recovery is possible once an individual comes to terms with a new situation. For instance, following the death of a parent, it may take a while before the person can accept that a family member is no longer alive. Until acceptance, they may feel unable to move on with their life. Symptoms include listlessness, feelings of hopelessness and sadness, difficulty sleeping, frequent episodes of crying, unfocused anxiety and worry, loss of concentration, withdrawal from normal activities as well as family and friends, and thoughts of not wanting to be here. Most people who experience situational depression begin to have symptoms within 90 days of the triggering event. And now clinical depression. Clinical depression is more severe than situational depression. It is known as major depressive or major depressive disorder. It is severe enough to interfere with daily function. The Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-V, classifies clinical depression as a mood disorder. Disturbances in levels of certain chemicals known as neurotransmitters may be to blame. Again, it says may, because guys, this is still a very a misunderstood and something that's still being looked at form of science. How other factors are likely to play a role. For example, genetic factors may influence an individual's response to a certain experience or event. Major life events can trigger negative emotions such as anger, disappointment, or frustration. Alcohol and substance dependence may also have links to depression. Depression can also alter a person's thought process and bodily functions. So the reason why I wanted to go over that is to give you a little oversight into how this works with depression. Now, I think we've heard that she might have bipolar disorder or borderline. I don't want to sit here and really speculate. I'm not her therapist. I'm not her doctor. I would be no position to be in that place. However, the reason I'm pointing this out is because I just feel like too often we label people with, mental this or that, without really looking into it. My question is, how can somebody be mentally healthy if they have a father that has so many anger issues that they get your children taken away? If you have a father that has admittedly known to terrorize your own family because of drinking issues that you're still doing current day, can anybody, especially a woman who's being controlled by that man, are they going to be able to really be mentally healthy in that situation? Or is it that Britney Spears is in impossible situations in a very, very toxic family environment and a toxic industry as Hollywood, trying to just deal with where she's at? So here's what I want to go into. This is from theheavy.com. I'm going to go a little bit more into her father, Jamie. It says Jamie Spears, Britney's dad. 5 facts you need to know. I'm going to skim some of this, right? So it says, number 1, Jamie has not remarried Britney's mother. First of all, Britney's mother has been championing to get her out of the conservatorship. And when people have written negative things about her father being controlling, then Britney Spears' mother will like those comments. She will comment on some of those comments. So right now we have 2 parents that are very, very at odds, and one is known to not be an alcoholic and the other one is known to be an alcoholic who get her kids taken away. Just a thought. So they're not remarried. They aren't together. Also, number 2, Jamie says, or Jamie, the narrative out there is he's widely credited with saving his daughter's life in 2007, and Britney was having some issues and she was on a downward spiral. That's another thing. Again, go check out that other video that I have that at some point I kind of want to get into and dive into a little more. But with this, I also think he is very cunning and sneaky and was able to get in there and get control of her and do a lot of damage. So that's another thing. And then here we go. Number 3. This is what I really want to get into. Jamie has been described as a dysfunctional alcoholic by his wife, who never completed his vasectomy procedure. Fun! Here it goes. Jamie's ex-wife, Britney Spears' mother, described her husband as a dysfunctional alcoholic in her 2008 memoir, Through the Storm, A Real Story of Fame and a Family in a Tabloid World. An Entertainment Weekly review of the book says that Lynn writes of her husband being an alcoholic who drags a would-be happy Southern family down a road of dysfunction. Lynn says of her husband's drinking, it was just that kind of social drinking that ended up pulling Jamie and all of us beneath the undertow of alcoholism again. Another section of the book says that Lynn, being pregnant with the couple's 3rd child, was a major shock, as Jamie was supposed to have gotten a vasectomy at that stage. According to Lynn, he never went to a follow-up consultation to ensure the procedure was a success. I have things to say there. In 2009, Courtney Love posted completely unfounded allegations about Jamie on her Facebook page. The former rocker wrote, Britney's dad molested her in a physical, awful capacity to do to a child. Imagine the father that does that to you, owning you for slavery while you're forced to sing songs picked for their physical in nature, adult nature content, please infer, every night. Insane, right? I have it on firsthand authority. And fight as hard as she is. And does she still didn't pull that card? It's a pride thing I can relate to. However, they want to play dirty, let's go. I'm so not afraid of little trolls who hit this when I was the blank up, who are called lawyers. Let's go. So those are kind of some concerning allegations from Courtney Love. And I can already hear, I think some people when they hear her name kind of roll their eyes. Courtney Love has said a few outrageous things lately that if we're seeing are starting to come to light and are true. And regardless of what you think of her, remember, she's been in this industry for a very long time. And I bet she knows all kinds of stuff. So I don't think it's, and I had, when people tried to paint the narrative for me as nothing's wrong with me physically, I'm just crazy. A lot of people just wrote off things I said. And later it was like, oh my gosh, all those videos I did on Onision, I was right. I saw what was happening. So I don't think we should just so easily write somebody off because of a public perception. Now, I'm not saying what she says is true or not. I can't verify that. But the fact that she was one of the first women talking about Harvey Weinstein, I think it's because I want to call him Ween, Harvey Weinstein, to her credit. So I don't think we should just brush her off there. But now let's think about something else. So pregnancy, especially in this society, in this day and age, is it's a condition for women. And because we have a medical system that is not tailored to women's health at all, it is not safe for women. In fact, the mortality rate for expectant mothers giving birth and afterward is way on the rise, more than any other first world civilized country, which is really sad. It's really shooting up there. We don't focus on nor care about women's health. As I've been detailing, even the weight loss industry is all geared towards men's health and not women and our biochemistry. And that's why I think a lot of women suffer and really can't lose weight no matter how hard they try. And I've seen it. I've seen women like me who we're very determined and we like, being able to follow the rule book and do the right thing and OCD about diets or about just in general, real achievers. And no matter how many rules we follow that are out there about weight loss, we can't get there. So I want you guys to think about this just for a second from, I believe her name is Lynn Spears. That's Britney Spears' mother. So she was under the impression that Jamie, so the dad, went and spent money, it's not cheap, to go get this vasectomy, go get it taken care of. Instead, he puts her health at risk and gets her pregnant from his irresponsibility with his health and her health and reproductive health. And their finances. Because I'm assuming that money to be spent on the vasectomy had to be taken out of somewhere to show, look, I did this, so what did he spend it on? Was it more alcohol? So here's my question about this. Can a man who put his wife in an unsafe situation and their child, which thankfully she was born, everything is okay, and that's her sister, Jamie Lynn, can that man, and should that man, who is also a functional alcoholic, who may or may not have done some real awful things to Britney per Courtney Love, should this man be in charge of being in control of all of her finances and every move? But Britney's the crazy one. But the courts handed control over to him. Where are his mental illness labels for the reasons he's getting into alcoholism and putting his wife in that situation? Oh, I guess it's okay for men to put women in unsafe positions. That's just boys being boys, right? One more. I got one more thing for my point. Y'all, this topic. I told you this is one of those rabbit holes. It's kind of like I've been doing videos on Eugenia Cooney. A little bit of Eugenia Cooney. There's just stuff for days. It's more so with Britney. I feel for Eugenia. By the way, everybody I talk about, I really like these people. I respect them. Let's all be as kind as we can to these people. It just really drives me crazy. Oh, Britney's a crazy one. And then the courts are like, oh, the dysfunctional alcoholic hurting your family. Yeah, go ahead and control her. But oh, Britney, stay happy. Stay happy. Oh, you don't feel good, Britney? You're sad about your situation, Britney? You're sad because we have a man around you who's been horrible to you and your family and does horrible things to you guys? Suck it up, Buttercup, because you're insane. Welcome to Being a Woman 2020. Here we go. This is from thedailymail.co.uk. So this is from Sharon Churcher, Mail on Sunday, Chief American. Now, apparently, I'm trying to figure out the source of this because I've seen some people say the person who's the source of this is a reporter, and some people are saying that's actually somebody from Kent, Louisiana, which is Britney Spears' hometown. But this is a report about Britney Spears' father. This is the title of the article, guys. By the way, December 2008, okay? The courts thought this is the man they should hand things over to. The day I saw Britney Spears' father pull a knife. Oh, and he kind of holds somebody hostage too. Yeah, but he's the sane one, and Britney's the crazy one. It says, he was a domineering man who subjected this writer, there it is, it says writer, to a hostile drunken monologue. Now a court has given him stifling control of his daughter's life, and it's driving her crazy. Thank you! Finally some truth. I feel like we don't ever hear this end of it. So happy. Britney Spears appears to have undergone a remarkable transformation. Remember, this was written in 2008. This is written at a different time, so this is 12 years old. Keep in mind, she had had her breakdown, and then she was coming back into the music scene, and she was under her father's control. Less than a year ago, her reign as America's favorite pop princess had descended into a ghoulish soap opera. Her bizarre drink and substance-fueled behavior had led to doubts about her sanity. She had lost custody of her two young sons to former husband Kevin Federline, and she's been forcibly taken to a psychiatric ward in Los Angeles after a standoff with police. Last week, however, she celebrated her 27th birthday with a smile on her face and a hit single, Womanizer, near the top of the charts. That's another thing. If she marries a guy thinking that he's the one and he's going to help protect her from all this crap in Hollywood, and then he starts cheating on her and messing around, and she's got two kids, and apparently her second pregnancy was reported to be really hard. She had a lot of morning sickness issues. And here he is just fooling around on her, and then turns tail when she's in a position where she's like, I think I have to divorce him because of the way he's acting, and then completely goes on the attack when it comes to trying to get their children. Don't you think that's going to mess with anybody's mental state, considering the just toxic nature of the environment, the family, like her father, and the industry she's in? So what makes me mad is I feel like we mistreat women, and when they finally can't handle any more mistreatment, they're crazy. It makes me mad because I feel like women and also minorities go through the same thing and nobody listens. And luckily we have social media and strong voices standing up and speaking up about this. But she's what? So her husband does all of this stuff. Why don't we call him crazy for messing around on her while she has these two kids? Why don't we put that label on him? Because society accepts it. On some level, we say it's okay. We don't label the people doing the harm. We label the people that have to deal with the trauma that's being inflicted on them. It's not fair. I just don't think that's a very fair society to be in. And in that situation, don't you think she's going to maybe go out and party a little bit? Considering that's all he's doing, why is it okay for him, but not for her? Again, the hypocrisy just drives me nuts on this. So it says, once shaven-headed and bloated from a diet of junk food and alcohol. That's another thing. She can do whatever she wants with her body as long as she's not hurting herself or other people. Who cares if she's bloated? Who cares? Some of youngins, I'm so old. Some of y'all that are young, and I don't fault you for this. You don't know what this was like. She would gain a couple pounds. People were constantly focused on whether or not she's this thin. Just a stick. Like, how dare you? How dare anybody thinks that they have any right or say over somebody else's body, but the world really thought they were entitled to what her body looks like at all times. And if for some reason she stepped out of line with that ideal of being a twig back then, people were merciless. It's disgusting how entitled people felt to her body, but that's the industry she's in. And at the time, that was, we were under the impression that these behaviors were okay. That was okay to do to somebody who was at that level of stardom. Gross. And if she wants to eat junk food, let her. And you know what? If she wants to shave her head, do it. It's your business. Whoa, because she shaved her head, so she stepped in a line with looking like some type of, physically attractive symbol. Something's wrong. So she's not giving you what you feel entitled to her from with her body, and now she's crazy? Again, welcome to the way men think about women 2020. Hashtag not all men. Thank you for the good ones, especially thank you if you're here. We need more of you. This just, am I going to get through this article, guys? Once shaven head and bloated from a diet of junk food and alcohol, Britney again looks toned and fit. Now, do we say the same thing about Kevin Federline? Nope. Do we really come at men that way in that capacity like she did? Does a man shave his head and we go, 5150, guys? And I'm not saying there weren't other issues. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up and a lot of hypocrisy here. So, it says, Britney again looks toned and fit, because that's the most important thing for you to be in life, guys. Her recent appearance on X Factor during a whirlwind trip to London drew a record audience for the show. Y'all remember she was a judge for a short time. The man, credited as the architect of one of pop's music most extraordinary comebacks, is none other than Britney's father, Jamie. The 56-year-old former builder, who is divorced from Britney's mother, Lynn, was granted control over the star's business affairs and appointed her conservator, the equivalent of a child's guardian for an adult, at a court hearing last February, shortly after her discharge from the hospital. This effectively handed Spears control over his daughter's life, and there is no doubt he takes the role seriously. His first act was to cut her off from an aide who was allegedly plying his daughter with pills. He ordered a halt on the spending sprees that were draining Britney's fortune and made sure she kept away from the sleazy clubs and hanger-ons who could drag her back to her old self-destructive habits. He also masterminded her extraordinary return to recording studio and stage. Britney has just released her 6th album, Circus, again, 2008, and will embark on a world tour in the new year that is expected to earn in excess of $150 million. Because, earning money is the most important thing in life, so is being toned. Well, when you're female, when you're a guy, you can do whatever you want. Yet something about her performance on X Factor, she lip-synced badly, danced unconvincingly, and appeared stunned when asked about the relative merits of the contestants, suggest that all is not quite as it seems, you think? Insiders of her mini tour of Germany, France, and Britain revealed the star lives in a bubble designed to maximize her potential as a money-making machine, as well as physically separate her from temptation, whether that be any type of substance, junk food, or men. It makes me mad that they really focus on food, because again, everybody was so hyper-focused on her appearance. Disgusting what this industry does and what it allows to happen. Disgusting. When I say industry, I'm talking about Hollywood. But Britney's friends are worried that the regime imposed by her father does little for her fragile state of mind. They say that in private she confesses to her feelings being pressurized to perform, frequently dissolves in tears, and that a volatile love-hate relationship is there with her father. They also question whether Jamie Spears, a former bankrupt and recovering alcoholic, whose only business experience is a failed building company, and a suitable person to exercise such iron control over a very vulnerable young woman. Certainly, the Spears I met 7 years ago at his isolated bungalow on a dirt road in rural Kentwood, Louisiana, didn't seem the most sensitive of souls. In a terrifying encounter, which lasted 4 hours, Britney's father subjected me to a hostile drunken monologue while refusing to let me leave. Every time I got up to go, he picked up a large carving knife and theatrically stabbed it into the wooden table, which we were sitting. 2 growling Alsatians, a Rottweiler, and a man Spears claimed was a bodyguard, prowled the creaky back porch, which had been converted into a makeshift redneck bar, complete with illuminated Budweiser sign, beer and whiskey. An air gun lay in front of Spears. He had been drinking heavily and was chewing Kodiak tobacco, and showed me round the little house where Britney grew up, while his bodyguard cooked a huge iron pan of crayfish outside on a camping stove. Surprisingly, the inside of the house was immaculate, almost as though nobody lived there. It was also a rather spooky shrine to his famous daughter, with framed pictures, magazine covers, platinum records, concert posters, and even used ticket stubs covering almost every available inch of space. Spears told me, "There's not a man on earth that could be happier than me. I've got the most famous daughter in the world," but he admitted, "I squandered my money on wild women and beer." Yeah, sounds like a good guy who should be in control of her life. Britney is focused. She's been a star since birth. "I still build, but I do it when I feel like it." Spears then attempted to give me a drunken hug. He confided that he was all but broke, but added that Britney had bought him the smart white pickup truck parked outside and had bought his wife, Lynn, for whom he was estranged, a Mercedes. My bizarre encounter with the man who controls a pop empire took place in March 2002. Britney was still a fresh-faced 20-year-old, but already a pop phenomena. I finally managed to escape after Jamie and his bodyguard escorted me to a local bar, where he said they needed to buy more beer. It was a lifestyle from which young Britney had also tried to escape. When her breakthrough hit Baby One More Time came out in 1998, her parents had only a few months previously declared themselves bankrupt with debts of over $100,000. Their phone was cut off because of unpaid bills, and their old Ford pickup was seized and auctioned on the steps of a local courthouse. Its windscreen was cracked, and there were 71,770 miles on the clock. The vehicle only fetched $1,000. Though many local people blamed Jamie Spears' drinking for the failure of his business, Britney castigated herself. She believed her parents' financial collapse and their subsequent divorce happened because she and her mother spent so long away from home. Britney starred in the long-running American TV show, The Mickey Mouse Club. As is often the case, however, her complicated relationship with her hard-drinking father was cast as a long shadow over her adult life. Britney's romance with the clean-cut Justin Timberlake broke up after allegations that she was unfaithful. She embarked on a string of tempestuous relationships soon afterward that mirrored her father's disastrous marriage. Her first husband, Jason Alexander, was a swaggering, heavy drinker who could have been a younger Jamie Spears. The second, Federline, a little-known dancer, already had one child and a girlfriend who was 8 months pregnant when his relationship with Britney began. The most disturbing part of the new arrangement between father and daughter is that Britney's showbiz career is her father's only passport out of poverty, a poverty that his alcoholism helped create. With Britney's apparent recovery, I spoke again to the Spears' family's friend in the fated town of Kentwood, population 2,174. They told me that Jamie had been sober for 5 years after treatment at a rehabilitation clinic and hoped his own battle with alcoholism would be an inspiration to his daughter. Remember, though, this was written in 2008. Our friend said he genuinely believes he can be an anchor to her life. He's very honest about his faults, and he tells her, "Don't do as I do as I say you're to do." She says she has forgiven him out of her childhood, but I know she finds it hard. There's a sadness in her eyes. When a court in Los Angeles appointed Spears his daughter's conservator, he reportedly persuaded her to support his application by saying it would help her win back custody of her children from Federline. But this is a development that conspicuously appeared no nearer today than it did a year ago, and she did get some rights back, but it was years later. Her father's supporters insisted that his behavior is the only type of tough love that will prevent his daughter's relapse into substance issues. They point to her evidently healthy glow after the rebirth of her show business career as proof that he has the best of intentions at heart. But friends of Britney say she's becoming increasingly anxious about the power her father has over her life. Tensions have been raised to an all-time high following an announcement that she will embark on a worldwide tour, a massive undertaking for any young star, let alone one who until so recently was on the edge of a total breakdown. A tearful Britney is said to have said she's going to cancel some engagements, complaining that she is not yet strong enough to cope. She blames her father for everything, one acquaintance said. He and Britney hardly spoke for years, and now all of a sudden he is king. Which, guys, in his situation with everything he's done to his family, very, very interesting. And she has now said she doesn't want to perform anymore. She's done. And a lot of it has to do with her father being in control and its conservatorship. She has an overwhelming love-hate relationship with her dad, and now Jamie has alienated his daughter by treating her like an infant. She is given to crying fits and says her father has pushed her into performing before she is ready. Her friends acknowledge that her father has kept his promise to keep her away from the party, drink, and substance lifestyle that promoted her downward spiral into psychiatric clinic. But they say his controlling nature comes at a terrible price. She's not allowed to drive her car or choose her own meals. She cannot leave her father's side without permission, and then only with chaperones. All her phone calls are monitored, and she is watched over day and night by bodyguards. On her recent mini tour of Europe, she was surrounded by an entourage of 40 people and left the safety of her hotel room only to go out for appearances. She was not allowed to rehearse with the dancers of her show. Wow. Producers and studio technicians were refused any contact with her, and all alcohol were banned. Hotel minibars were emptied. She lives in a strange netherworld of hotel rooms, rehearsal rooms, television studios, limousines, and airplanes. Even Rolling Stone, America's respected music magazine, was prompted to comment that because of the terms of the court order granting her father power of attorney over her life, she has about as many legal rights as she was when she was a little girl. And in one rare moment of sad reflection, Britney Spears said herself, and this is in her 2008 documentary on MTV, "Even when you go to jail, you know there's a time when you're going to get out. If I wasn't under the restraints I am under, I would feel so liberated." The question now, how long will Britney accept her father's diktat? Already, there are signs of rebellion. Shortly after her X Factor appearance, thousands of fans crammed into London's Astoria Club to see her, only to be informed she was too shy to go on stage. No matter how genuine, Jamie Spears wants to help his daughter. The fear is that the unsophisticated former alcoholic could simply be unable to help her escape the past. And this is what I wanted to bring up. If there is a man like this, that is this unstable, that is alcoholic, who had a rage fit and got her children taken away from her, and that she has said repeatedly she no longer wants contact with, wants anything to do with, or wants her in control of her life. A man that has damaged her mother and her family this much. Why is he allowed control over her, and why is Britney the one deemed crazy? It doesn't make any sense to me. And what I want you guys to understand is when you get into some type of issue like a conservatorship, or you become a ward of the state, like if you had a mental illness and you were just given away to a state hospital, certain things like that happen. Legally, it can be almost impossible many times to be able to get out of. And this is why so many people, like me and others across the board, are raising our voices saying, something isn't right. Britney needs help. Now, what her mental health is, what her mental health issues are, is not for me to say. But my question is, how do we expect anybody in an industry that puts children around a lot of P words, in an industry that, really put her body out there on display in a way that allowed people to feel entitled to put their own physical, instinctual entitlement urges on her? Please infer, I hate having to speak roundabout, but it's YouTube. That really made her body in a physical sense to people, especially men, at such a young age. What does that do to a young mind, especially to somebody who is supposed to be your father, the one who's supposed to protect you and be there for you and help you and guide you, who is guiding your mother and your family down a pit? By the way, I know they said he's a former alcoholic. He was drinking during this interview. And there are reports where people have filmed him even recently drinking. Why is an alcoholic drinking? I think we are too quick to put the label of mental illness on some people and shove medication down them without actually seeing, well, what are the factors that are putting you in this situation? Is this clinical? Is this situational? That's more with depression, because again, I don't know what her mental illness issues are. I don't know what that is, but I feel like I'm calling BS, because if in court documents it says she's incapable of making decisions for herself, taking care of herself, dressing herself, how could she have 18-hour grueling tour days? And how is it then healthy for a person that's incapacitated to put them in front of tens of thousands of people every single night to perform? Can somebody explain that to me? That's why I don't really trust a lot of what anybody is saying about her mental health, because we're seeing too many lies and too many things that don't add up. Again, not for me to say what it is. I'm only pointing out stuff doesn't smell right. And it would just make me feel devastated if this girl just continues to be taken advantage of by an industry and by a parent who don't have her best interests and are using her. And my heart goes out to her, and I hope that she's able to get out and get whatever it is she needs for help. And whether or not that's just getting away from him, that may be the help she needs. I hope she's able to get it. And I think we need to really start to label people correctly. Women aren't just crazy because they finally can't put up with the people who are putting them in horrible positions and doing horrible things to them. We need to start labeling the people that do horrible things to people and what they do to people to put them in those situations. But again, we have a society that on some level protects those people. And that's why I want to call this stuff out. Okay, guys, if you like this video, you'd like to see more videos like this, please give me a big thumbs up and let me know, like the video. And then make sure and subscribe and hit notifications so you know when I upload videos. Leave comments. Tell me, is there something I'm missing? Do you guys think I'm wrong here? I wonder if this is a piece that people are missing when it comes to this topic. And guys, please share this content with people you think that would enjoy it. I would love to hear what they have to say. And also, I've got tons of other videos. I've done some series on Onision recently. I've done some videos on Shane Dawson, on Eugenia Cooney, on Trisha Paytas, all coming at this from a health and a mental health perspective. Stuff you probably won't hear a lot of other places, information I like to give you guys so you are better equipped to know how to go through life, because I know what it's like to have a situation where people are trying to label you mentally and put you places against your will when you need help. And in my situation, I need physical help. And I'm not saying she's physically sick by any means. I don't know that. But I think she needed to get out of an industry or be protected from an industry that was so awful and everybody just kept hurting her and using her. Of course, that's not going to make somebody mentally well. How could it? But then again, this is what we do to women and minorities. So I wanted to point this stuff out. Okay, guys, take care. Blessings to the next video and the next deep dive. I'm wishing everybody lots of love, and I'm giving you hugs and kisses. Bye, guys.